boulevard, and other bad boys standing in the shadows, and the good girls and their home and broken hearts, and I'm free falling, and I'm free, yeah. I'm free falling. I want you catch me now, darling.
Free falling indeed. Hello everyone, welcome to NeoUnrealist. Are you tired of winning yet? The Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report has been delivered to Attorney General Barr and the Justice Department. That happened over the weekend, as I'm sure almost all of you know by now. But we had to wait until Sunday afternoon before the key findings were released by Attorney General Barr. And the bottom line, the nitty-gritty, the nut of the matter, so to speak, is, in the words of the AG, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Well, we didn't need the delivery of the Mueller report to know that. I mean, it's been clear for months now that not a single American has been indicted for conspiracy with anyone in relation to Russian activity in the 2016 election. But what the Mueller findings do is spike the football in the end zone by finding neither Trump or any member of his campaign engaged in such activities, either knowingly or even unknowingly. Boom. Well, what this does mean, more important than that, is that over 2 years, you could almost say 3 years worth of Democrat politicians and their mainstream media co-conspirators have been peddling a lie, a fabrication, a hoax from the start. Now, this means that the Hillary Clinton PP dossier was a total fraud, paid for, generated, and disseminated by Hillary Clinton and her campaign with the express intent to interfere in the U.S. elections. In concert with foreign guys like foreign persons associated with or assets of the British, Ukrainian, and Russian governments, along with a cavalcade of Obama administration officials in the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice, through the nexus of opposition research outfit Fusion GPS. Former MI6 agent Christopher Steele, former Australian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom Alexander Downer, Fusion GPS, and the FBI were running ops using these people as cutouts, these foreign assets, to do the legwork of targeting and entrapping peripheral members of the Trump campaign, like Carter Page and Papadopoulos, to get a hook, if you will, to hang, some kind of fig leaf to hang a case on initially. So they could take this fantasy from something cooked up on paper, by Hillary Clinton's paid agents at Fusion GPS. They had to find a real-world patsy, that somebody, to get the ball rolling, over at the FBI. They can't just randomly open an official investigation into nothing and nobody. So after luring these people to the UK under false pretexts, using money, they created enough smoke around people like Page to trump up an application, for a FISA warrant against them, using the Russia dossier, this hoax document that the Clinton people put together, to get what they couldn't get before, as previous attempts without the dossier to get a FISA warrant on Carter Page were rejected by the FISA Court. Now, you got to understand something, what that really means. The FISA Court, it's the most notorious rubber stamp court in American history. It's got something like a 99% rate of returning approvals, for FISA requests. Now imagine how thin your case would have to be to get rejected by a court that's approved 99% of all applications, going back, I think it's existed for now almost 40 years. So between that and a whole rogues gallery of Ukrainian and Russian sources feeding Steele and Fusion GPS a bunch of disinformation, salacious gossip, bullshit, if you will, what you've got is the Mueller report now conclusively establishing that it was a hoax from the start. Do you get that for almost 3 years? The underlying premise, the foundation and bedrock of the single largest topic of reporting by the outfits CNN and MSNBC much of the big three television network news outfits, as well as the New York Times, the Washington Post, has just been rendered 100% completely false. This is the biggest failure of the media in its entire history. Some will argue that the biggest media failure was the early 2000s Iraq WMD story. No, this is worse. Because at least in the case of Iraq having WMDs, there were some mainstream media outlets that remained skeptical of the story. They pursued it, and as time went on, there was considerable pushback on claims about Iraq's WMDs until it became a complete push the other way to disprove the narrative. Now, in this case, not only was there no pushback from the likes of CNN and MSNBC on this hoax, many of the media were complicit in it. Christopher Steele and the people at Fusion GPS, they were shopping their lie-filled documents all over the place. It took BuzzFeed, printing the hoax dossier to break the dam, but once it did, they all lapped it up. And it's been embraced and amplified since then. Since the end of 2016, all through 2017 and 2018, up to now in March in 2019, how many times have we heard the words bombshell, turning point, or that indictments of Trump's associates and family were imminent, that Trump would be impeached or resign any day now over this? How does Adam Schiff get to walk around anywhere without people pointing at him and looking at him with like disgust and loathing, or just outright ridiculing him? If anyone should have some matronly figure in a nun's habit walking around him like that lady in Game of Thrones, ringing the bell and repeatedly crying, "Shame! Shame! Shame!" It's Adam Schiff. Has anyone made more public pronouncements of having evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, made more public baseless accusations of treason against various individuals than Adam Schiff? Oh, wait a minute. I don't know. Maybe you could argue former CIA Director Brennan. I mean, this guy, I've never seen anything like this before. This guy is a former director of the Central Intelligence Agency. How long has the Central Intelligence Agency director position been around? 1947? Now go back to the 1950s in the days of like Allen Dulles. We've had CIA directors who did things like publishing books after they left the position. I'm pretty sure those have all been pre-cleared by the CIA though before they were published. We've had former CIA directors, I think, occasionally appear as, say, a guest on a news program or do an interview. I'm pretty sure I can remember James Woolsey's made more than a few TV appearances over the years. But I don't think we've ever had a case where a director of the Central Intelligence Agency ever walked out of his job at Langley and into a job with a television news operation as an everyday contributor and analyst. I mean, do you know of anyone at all who thinks it's a good precedent for a former head of a country's clandestine service to be employed by a news outfit? I mean, forget the lies that Brennan has peddled on the airs on NBC and MSNBC on this Trump-Russia collusion hoax, but just look at the optics if it was anybody at any other time. Just imagine, you're a president of the United States, and you're taking office on day one of your administration. And ideally, you'd like to think that, at least in important areas like the military and the intelligence agencies, that you have the luxury, if you don't have anybody in mind right away to bring in to replace the old people, that, maybe you could just keep the former president's people on. You'd like to think the CIA and, certainly people that work in that area, that you could maintain continuity between administrations if you don't have someone new in mind right away for those jobs. So, but now you got to worry that from now on, that the old leadership of the CIA is going to sign up with MSNBC or CNN and be an everyday contributor. How is that something you want to introduce into a new president's considerations about keeping or firing a CIA director? I mean, you just don't do that. Certainly, it isn't done in any other countries I'm aware of. So, but I'm going to leave it there. There was never any basis for opening any investigation into the President of the United States. Certainly not because James Comey decided there needed to be one and did an illegal leak to the New York Times of, I think he gave his friend, now they found out one of the documents he leaked had classified information on it. So maybe even Comey has some problems legally to deal with now. But Mueller now confirms that when basically it's found that no evidence exists of collusion with Russia by anyone in the Trump campaign. And people reporting in the media about such evidence existing and how indictments on such activities were always around the corner any day now, remember, they now have egg all over their faces. Apologies are owed, retractions need to be made, disavowals. More importantly, the Department of Justice must now open investigations into everyone who had a hand in this, from Christopher Steele to his Fusion GPS handlers to their paymasters, Hillary Clinton and her campaign, to the likes of people like Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, Sally Yates, and a whole host of deep staters over at the FBI, the Department of Justice, people at the CIA like Brennan, who knowingly participated in this attempted coup. That's all for this New Unrealist. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell to keep up with things. You gotta mash it down, people. You don't just click on that bell. Now, if you don't feel that that's enough, you want to go above and beyond with the support. You want to donate your hard-earned dollars, shekels, rubles, your drachmas, your euros, whatever you want to do. You just go down below to the links to Patreon, PayPal, and now Subscribe Star. Yes, you heard it. We've gotten our first Subscribe Star supporter on the board. They finally came through with their green light, so it's active. You can follow that link below for that as well, for those of you who've left the Patreon plantation. More importantly, though, for you diehards, you've sat through the whole money-grubbing capitalist portion of this video. You've reached the end, and I've got to salute your perseverance. So give yourself a participation trophy and pretend I handed it to you or something.